Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive with us.
Always fun.
And today we're going to be looking at some of the ideas in Andy Maslen's book, Persuasive Copywriting.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty interesting. Hopefully give all you listeners out there some ideas about how to strengthen your writing.
Yeah, how to make it really hit home.
I think one of the things that I thought was really interesting in the beginning of the book was that he talks about how copywriting should really be focused on the reader.
Right.
Not the writer.
Yeah. It's about them, not you.
And I feel like that's something that we've talked about before. This idea that when you're trying to be persuasive, when you're trying to get someone to see your side of things or to do what you're asking them to do, it's always better to approach it from their perspective.
Absolutely. And, it's easy to fall into the trap of just talking about yourself and how great you are and how amazing your product is.
Right.
But that's not what people want to hear.
Yeah. I mean, you think about just in everyday life, how often do you see that with, like, someone will post on social media and it's all about them.
Oh, yeah.
Look at me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's not engaging. It's not interesting.
No, it's off-putting.
Yeah. And Maslen really emphasizes that with copywriting. He says, instead of saying, we're so excited about this new product,
Right.
you should say something like, this new product is going to change your life.
Exactly. Make it about the benefits to the reader.
Yeah. Focus on what they're going to get out of it.
And I think one of the best examples of this is when you look at those really successful marketing campaigns, the ones that really resonate with people, they always focus on the customer's needs and desires.
Right.
They tap into those emotions and they
Yeah.
make you feel like they understand you.
And I think a lot of people think that copywriting has to be like really clever or like funny.
Yeah, you have to be like a wordsmith or something.
But Maslen says that that's not really true.
Yeah. No, the real skill is in understanding your audience and what motivates them.
So it's more like problem solving in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like how do you get someone's attention and how do you persuade them to do something?
And to do that, you have to really understand what they're looking for, what their pain points are.
And Maslen has this interesting idea about reading fiction
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
to improve your copywriting.
He says that reading fiction can help you develop empathy.
Yeah, because you're putting yourself in the shoes of the characters.
Exactly, you're seeing the world from their perspective.
And I think that's a really valuable skill for any kind of writing. Really, not just copywriting.
Absolutely. Anytime you're trying to communicate with someone, you need to be able to see things from their point of view.
And then, of course, we can't talk about copywriting today without talking about the fact that, people are consuming content so differently now.
Right.
We're all on our phones.
Mobile first world.
Big blocks of text are just not going to cut it anymore.
No, you gotta keep it short and snappy.
Get to the point quickly.
And use strong visuals to break things up.
And think about the platform that you're writing for.
Right, your tone should match the context.
So, if you're writing a tweet, it's going to be a lot different than if you're writing a blog post.
Exactly.
And before you even start writing, Maslen says that it's crucial to have a clear brief.
Oh yeah, the brief is essential.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's basically a document that outlines everything you need to know about the project.
So what are you trying to achieve? Who's your target audience? What's the tone of voice?
Exactly, and what are the key messages that you want to get across?
And having that all laid out up front makes the writing process so much smoother.
It gives you a roadmap to follow.
Speaking of roadmaps, Maslen introduces this really cool formula called TIP PS
Oh yeah, I like that word.
to help us structure our copy.
It stands for tempt, influence, persuade, and sell.
And it's a great way to think about how to lead the reader through a journey.
Yeah, you start by tempting them with something that catches their attention.
Then you influence them by highlighting the benefits of your product or service.
Then you persuade them by providing evidence and social proof.
And finally, you close with a clear call to action that encourages them to buy.
It's a simple but effective formula.
And it can be applied to any kind of copywriting, whether you're writing a website or an email or even social media post,
Absolutely. It's all about understanding the psychology of persuasion.
and making sure that your copy is clear, concise, and compelling.
And enjoyable to read.
That's a good point. It should be a pleasure, not a chore.
Exactly. Nobody wants to wade through a wall of text.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, but we're just getting started.
Yeah, there's a lot more to explore in Maslen's book.
But I think these core principles are a great foundation for anyone who wants to write more persuasively.
So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into persuasive copywriting, where we'll delve even deeper into Maslen's insights and techniques.
We'll be right back after the break.
So we were talking about formulas and frameworks, and one of the other things that I thought was really interesting was how Maslen talks about the power of storytelling.
Oh, yeah, stories are so important.
And how, even something as dry as, car parts
Right.
can be made interesting if you tell a good story about it.
Absolutely. It's all about finding the human connection.
And I think that's something that a lot of copywriters forget.
Yeah, they get so caught up in the technical details.
Right? They're trying to cram in all the features and benefits.
And they forget that people buy based on emotion.
Yeah, they want to feel something.
They want to be entertained. They want to be inspired.
So how do you actually do that?
Well, Maslin talks about these 4 key elements of a good story.
Okay.
You've got your protagonist, your problem,
Right.
what happened,
Okay.
and the resolution.
And how does that apply to copywriting?
Well, think about it. Your reader is the protagonist.
Okay.
They have a problem that needs to be solved.
Right.
Your product or service is the solution.
Right.
And the resolution is the happy ending they experience after using it.
So it's like a before and after kind of thing.
Exactly.
Share them how their life is going to be better.
Yeah, paint a picture of the transformation.
And then this is where it gets really interesting. He starts talking about Aristotle.
Oh yeah, ethos, pathos, logos.
Right.
Classic stuff.
I remember learning about that in school, but I can't remember what it all means.
Well, ethos is basically your credibility.
Yeah.
Why should people trust you?
Right.
Pathos is appealing to their emotions.
Got it.
And logos is using logic and reason.
So you got to have all 3.
Yeah, it's like a 3-legged stool.
And he gives this great example of a frequent flyer program.
Oh yeah, the one for HR managers.
It says something like, exclusively for senior HR managers. Like, you save time and money with our proven program.
So right there you've got all 3 elements.
Yes, it's like you're speaking directly to them.
And you're appealing to their desire to save time and money.
And you're backing it up with the fact that it's a proven program.
It's a brilliant example of how to use persuasive language.
So we've talked about a lot of different techniques so far.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that Maslin really emphasizes is that good copy should be enjoyable to read.
Absolutely. It shouldn't feel like work.
And he gives some really great tips for how to make your writing more engaging.
Like using repetition for emphasis.
Oh yeah, I like that one.
Instead of just saying, are you a copywriter?
Right.
You could say, are you a copywriter? Are you a copywriter who's hungry for success? Are you ready to take your skills to the next level?
It's like you're building momentum.
Yeah, and you're really driving home the point.
And then he talks about avoiding cliches.
Oh yeah, cliches are the kiss of death.
They make your writing sound stale and unoriginal.
It's like you're not even trying.
So find new and interesting ways to say things.
Yeah, push the boundaries a little bit.
And this might sound crazy, but he even says that it's okay to break the rules of grammar sometimes.
Yeah, if it makes your copy more impactful.
I know that's going to make some people cringe.
But sometimes you gotta break the rules to get attention.
Like the Nike slogan, just do it.
Exactly. It's grammatically incorrect.
But it's memorable.
And it works.
So the takeaway here is that context matters.
Yeah, you gotta use your judgment.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Now, going beyond the words themselves,
Okay.
Maslin also talks about the importance of dramatization.
Dramatization.
Yeah, instead of just saying, your ebook is popular, you could describe a train full of people reading it.
I like that.
Paint a picture with your words.
Yeah, engage the senses.
Make it come alive.
Then, of course, there's visuals.
Oh yeah, visuals are so powerful.
They can really reinforce your message.
Especially in today's world where people are so visually oriented.
And Maslin has some great examples of how to use visuals effectively.
Like using charts and graphs to illustrate data.
Right, or using photos to make testimonials more believable.
It's all about creating a more immersive experience.
So we've been talking about all these techniques for writing persuasive copy. But I'm wondering, how do these principles apply to spoken communication?
That's a great question.
Because, we're not always writing.
Right, we're talking to people face to face.
We're giving presentations.
We're negotiating deals.
So how can we use these same ideas to be more persuasive in those situations?
I think it all comes down to understanding your audience.
Okay.
And connecting with them on an emotional level.
And that's something that we can do whether we're writing or speaking.
Absolutely.
It's really about being, I guess, more aware of how we're communicating.
Yeah, being intentional with our words.
And our body language too, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. Everything communicates.
So to wrap up our deep dive into persuasive copywriting, what would you say is the key takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that anyone can learn to write persuasively.
Okay.
It's not some magical talent that you're born with.
Right, it's a skill.
It's a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice.
So if you're out there and you're struggling with your writing, don't give up.
Keep practicing. keep experimenting.
And keep these principles in mind.
Yeah, focus on your audience, understand their needs and desires,
Tell a good story.
and don't be afraid to break the rules sometimes.
And I think it's also important to remember that persuasion is not about manipulation.
Right. It's not about tricking people into doing something they don't want to do.
It's about connecting with them authentically
Yeah, building trust.
and showing them how your product or service can help them.
Make their lives better.
So as always, we like to leave our listeners with something to think
A
about.
little food for thought.
We've been talking about persuasive writing, but how do these principles apply to other areas of your life?
Yeah, think about your relationships, your career, your personal goals,
How can you use these techniques to communicate more effectively,
to get your message across.
to achieve your dreams?
The possibilities are endless.
So that's it for today's deep dive into persuasive copywriting.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you learned something new.
And most importantly, we hope you'll put these ideas into practice.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.